Hi, I'm Rebecca Downs, original music artist from Birmingham, UK. Welcome to Series 3 of my podcast, Downs Your Way, in association with Blues in Britain magazine. For further details of me, the magazine, or my guests, please go to the show notes below. This week, I am interviewing Adam Norsworthy, guitarist, solo artist, and member of both the Milkmen and the Mustangs. He is also a prime mover in the charity festival Milkfest, which next year is in aid of Dementia UK, one of the main charities that I have supported in recent years. Adam gives me his views on how the scene has changed over the 20 plus years he has been involved. Right, so this week on the podcast, we have somebody that I've been, sort of passing by in the scene, but not quite coming into contact with. And today we're rectifying that. Adam Norsworthy of the Milkman. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, Rebecca. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. So for people, I mean, if they've been hiding under a rock somewhere, just explain a bit about what you do. Because I know
Well,
you do a myriad of things, actually. So
yeah, I do. I mean, most people probably know me from the Milkmen, which has been sort of fairly high profile band on the scene for a few years now. But a lot of people might remember that I started in the Mustangs 25 years ago, and I make some solo records as well, just on the side. But I've also been involved in a lot of charity stuff over the years as well, and the most high profile being the Milkfest shows that the Milkmen started putting on earlier this year. We're running a second one next year as well. So various sort of different things I've been doing over the years.
yeah, what date is that festival?
March the 1st, Sunday, March the 1st.
It is Sunday, March the 1st. And where is it?
It's going to be at the Indigo at the O2 in Greenwich. So it's not the huge venue at Greenwich at the O2, but it's the little side venue, which is a really lovely, lovely place. Incredible sound, great lights, wonderful crew, very comfortable, and we've got a day of music, all in aid of Dementia UK. In February, this year we ran for the Brain Tumor Society, and it's going to be Dementia UK next year, and we're hoping to pack the place out and make as much money as we can for the charity. Every penny of profit goes to the charity, and we've got 8 fantastic acts on that day, and we just want everyone to come along and support a good cause and enjoy a full day of great music, and people can come and go throughout the day, which is unique to Milkfest compared to other shows they've had there. So,
Okay.
if you want to get some food in or do some shopping or something, you can. If you want to do some shopping while the milkmen are on, you can go and do that.
Oh, no, no. People won't want to do that. They'll be staying. Are those tickets live now?
No, they're going to go on sale on September the 5th. So that's
September the
that's the
5th.
big
Okay.
day, and we'll be posting all over the place, as will all the acts and everything. So if you hopefully you won't miss the opportunity to click on a link and buy a ticket straight away.
Okay. And people probably know of my connection with dementia through sadly losing my mother, but I know, Adam, you've got one as well, losing your father. Um, it's an incredible cause, and yeah, we will push it as hard as we can. What an incredible thing to do.
Well, that'd be
Um,
lovely. Thank you.
Thank
Be
you for
really
doing
great.
that.
Yeah. Well, we're very grateful for any support we get from anyone, because we just want to spread the word and and um and do something good. Raise awareness. It's a 1 in 2 people now get affected by dementia, not necessarily through contracting it themselves, but through people they know and have to care for. And it's just a colossal issue worldwide, actually. But of course, let's start at home and do what we can here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, an amazing, worthy cause, as were the other causes that I've seen you support. So,
Mm.
thank you so much for that. You're kind of like, you're doing amazing things. And I'm sure lots and lots of people appreciate it. So, we're talking about the music business at the moment. You've been in the music business for, few years now, as you've
Long
said.
time. Longer than I'm allowing myself to admit, because I'm
Well,
too
what
vain.
I think we're only like, I don't know, I'm thinking early 30s us, you know. So
Oh,
it's like we can get
yeah,
away with it.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Let me just dim the light a bit more so I can get away with that a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'm just gonna actually turn the light off at that point. But anyway.
I get that request all the time.
So like what would you say the biggest economic challenges facing an independent artist or an independent band at the moment? Because you're kind of coming from both points of view as well, because you release music through a band, but you also, I know you do the Mustangs and then you
Yeah.
do your own stuff, like you said. So
Yeah.
what's like, what are the challenges that you're facing?
Well, how long have you got? You know this, and I've watched some of your podcasts, and I don't want to repeat some of the things that other people have said, but I think there are some absolute hard and fast truths that are unavoidable. And the first, I think, is that it is just staying afloat and managing to make any kind of living as a musician is almost impossible now, unless you're in the very top tier. So we've all got second jobs, often
Mhm.
related to music. We might do some teaching or work in a studio or something like that. But what's getting so hard is for artists to get any kind of significant, meaningful traction with an audience. I think because being a musician now means so much more, or being a professional musician now means so much more than it did even 10, 15 years ago. There was a time when you could just slog your guts out on the circuit and build up a following, but now, of course, you have to be very social media savvy. You've got to be very tech savvy. You've got to stay on top of that. And if you can't do that yourself, you need to employ somebody who can do it for you. If you're really serious about getting out there and
Mm.
playing to packed places everywhere you go, that's just getting your name out there. Actually selling music is harder than ever because of course, CDs are null and void now, apart from a certain sort of
Mm.
strata of punter. Everybody's streaming. The value of music is absolutely nothing, really. When you can get it for free, everyone can just get it for free, or on a they can get every song ever released for a sort of minimal monthly subscription. So how do we get people to come and see us? How do we get people to come and see us again? How do
Yeah.
we build up a relationship with our audience? How do we um, convince them to part with their hard-earned money to buy our CDs? And when they buy those CDs, we're at a stage now where they're not buying those CDs to keep us in fags and beer, as it were. We're using that money to make the next CD
Yeah.
because it's all so expensive, and when you get to our level, we have to employ PR people to help push our CDs and things like that. And none of this is cheap. It's all very, very expensive. You have producers and engineers and masterers and PR people and pluggers and everything.
The
And
list goes on.
the list goes on, and it's a bottomless pit of money. You can throw as much money as you want at it, really. Uh, and there are never any guarantees, as every plugger in the country will tell you. Their job is getting harder than ever because the radio playlists are getting narrower and narrower.
Mm.
And it's so I mean, really, that question just brings with it, a whole
It's a big question.
wheelbarrow of other questions and issues.
It's a big, big question, isn't it? I know, I'm I think I'm more of a rock sort of side. But I know that you guys are, kind of on a different sort of vibe to that. Do you find that there's an infrastructure that is working on that scene for you?
Well, we tend not to think too much about what other people are doing. We don't see ourselves in competition with anybody because we have our vibe and our thing that we do, and it seems to appeal to people and it seems to work. So we really focus on that. We focus on what we do, and our philosophy is is one of we really love what we do. So let's let people see you love what you do. So our shows are full of a lot of fun and joy, and um and we hope that that's a vibe that makes people want to come back and see it. We put the suits on, we have some fun stage banter and everything, and people might think, oh, well, they're not taking this very seriously. We actually take it very, very seriously. but we enjoy it at the same time. And
Mm.
I think that vibe that we project is one that appeals to people. And we see a lot of people with broad smiles, out in the audience, and they want to come back, and they do come back. And now we're at a stage, very luckily, touch wood, that we are able to pretty much fill all the places we play. um because I don't think it's enough just to be good anymore, because there's so many good people on the scene. There's so many great players. There's so many great singers. um, but the venues are closing down. There are fewer opportunities to play. The punters, the pool of punters is diminishing. They're going to be more and more particular as time goes on about who they're going to come and see.
Mm.
And just because you're good doesn't mean that you're necessarily the person they want to come and see. There has to be more than that, and I hope our show brings more than that. And certainly from a lot of the successful bands I see on the circuit, they've got who are at our level or above. They do have something a little bit extra. They're not just great players and great singers and great writers. Um, I mean, there's one in every crowd on our scene, isn't there? Guitarist, I used to
Absolutely.
think I was a pretty good guitarist until I got onto this scene, and I'm just thinking, what have I been doing with myself? My entire life. These guys are
Oh,
incredible.
surely that's not the case. I know that's not the case.
Well,
No,
I
I
don't
was
know.
meaning more of a sort of, yeah, I know there's like a more sort of style about what you play, and I agree with the non-competition, because I think it's a bit like bald men fighting over a comb in a way. Do you know what I mean? If you're in competition with other artists, it's like we're kind
Yeah,
of all sort of, if we all pull together, perhaps, there's no need to, there's no need to be like that, is there? And I totally
yeah.
agree with that. But I was just thinking about more from a bluesy sort of
I see what you mean. An
angle, sort of thing.
infrastructure is there?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there? Are there the opportunities in that infrastructure for bands to rise up the ladder, as it were?
Or to sort of make it a viable option, would you
Yeah,
say? I mean, I
yeah.
think making a living is quite a big statement. I don't know whether anyone would want to make that, because I think when you look at the basic minimum wage now and you multiply that by how many's in a band,
Mm.
that's quite a big ask, isn't it? I mean, that would be real
Yeah, yeah.
success. And
I mean, I think there's a viable option to be an ongoing musical um, concern that
mm,
has a place on the scene. But there's the caveats that come with that. I wouldn't want to hear some hotshot young musician going, "Well, I'm good enough. I can get on that scene," because he's going to have to, or she's going to have to be much, much more intelligent and work out a strategy now. I mean, we the Milkmen were slogging our guts out, not really getting anywhere for a few years, making, we thought, nice records and everything, but the crowds weren't increasing or anything. And it was actually during lockdown when we were able to really, really focus on our social media. And we really had a rethink about how we were interacting with our fans and our followers
mm,
and things. And when we came out of lockdown, and pretty much ever since, the crowds have been great, because we were focusing less on turning up at the show and doing all that kind of stuff, and more on what we were doing behind the scenes, and getting our Facebook page up and running and making it a place of positivity and fun, and
mm.
not taking ourselves too seriously, and posting pictures with silly captions, and all that's really, really popular with our followers. And it adds to that whole vibe that that makes people want to come back and see us and be part of what we do. But it was all very, very social media centric, that approach.
Which platforms would you say are sort of like the most popular for you with your followers?
Well, Facebook, because without sugarcoating it, we have an older following, and a lot of them aren't particularly into TikTok or Instagram or some of the more sort of instant social media pages. Facebook is something where you can spend a bit more time, you can take a bit of a deeper dive
Yeah.
into everything, and it seems to fit what we do, and it seems to be the place where most of our followers hang out on social media as well, so that works well for us. So I mean, there's such a healthy circuit in on our scene, and there are some really good promoters who are always looking out for good bands, and they are looking out for opportunities to give new bands as well. I mean, we owe a great debt to some of the people. Stephen Stanley, who first put us on with Dr. Feelgood, which was a big moment for us. Um, things like that. So the promoters are out there thinking, right, there are some young bands. How can we help them out and everything? But of course, there are more bands than there are places. So before you even get to that first gig that you're offered, you've got to be great. You've got to have something different that the promoters are going to see and go, okay, these guys, these gals have got something, and
Mm.
they're not just another blues band or another blues rock band. And we both know there are millions of those all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I totally agree. I think there's got to be. Um, Previously, Marky raised some interesting points,
Yeah, I know
and
Mark very well.
it was. I think you're absolutely right. I think, and quality wise, I think there's a certain level of quality that helps as well. As you say, it's not good enough just to be like, oh, I'm a great guitar player. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's the whole package, isn't it?
Well, it's easy when you're young, isn't it, to have a sense of entitlement as a musician because you believe you're so passionate and you believe so much in what you're doing. I'm sure you were the same, and I was there as well. I was a 14-year-old kid thinking, why am I not signed yet? You know, and because you're rubbish, you're a 14-year-old kid and you don't have any talent. You know, that's exactly, so it took a lot of time before I was, honest enough with myself, a lot of time uh, to look myself in the mirror and go, well, hang on, actually, you're not really good enough for that, or to be that, or to be that. But you do have a place.
Mm.
You have some value on the scene as a musician, and so Mark, I know Mark very well. He's done a lot of work with me on Milkfest, and we worked a lot together on an awful lot of stuff. And I respect his opinion hugely, even if I don't always agree with it. He's Mark is all about perfection, and I'm all more about warts and all, and dropping your guitar on stage and
I've done that many times.
yeah, well, exactly, it happens. Mark, deal with it. He won't mind me saying that. Yeah, and so, yeah, so that sense of entitlement that young musicians once had, I'm not sure they have it anymore. I'm not sure how much young people now see music as a career.
I think
Um,
it's
I,
it's
I
a mixed bag.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know if you're the same, but I've been with young kids who play instruments brilliantly, and I've asked them, so you want to be in a band? Do you want to make? And they know there's no music or prospects in music by and large. They said, no, I just want to do this as a hobby. I want to become a hedge fund manager or a, you know, or a banker or something. And you're sort of thinking, well, that's pretty sensible. That's a lot more sensible than I was. You know,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
it
a
is.
professional band. So,
I mean, I still teach. I at a I would say people that maybe still definitely think that they want to make a career out of it, and some of them do, and some, but I think the fight is exceptionally hard. You touched on the point, which was really interesting, that social media was a turning point for you,
yeah.
and it. I know all too well that it takes up a hell of a lot of time. And
Yeah.
how do you do that? Do you divide it by band members? Do you do it?
Um,
How does it work for you guys and for you? How do you cope with that? What's your, how does it all work for you guys?
I do it all. To all intents and purposes, I manage the band and run the band. Um, and that's fine because I have the time to do that because
Mm,
I'm a full-time musician, so I can spend my time working on things like this. What does happen, of course, is though you find yourself sitting at the desk at the keyboard, working on all the social media and everything, all the things that go with it.
yeah.
People don't necessarily, maybe they do, I don't know, but when you put a poster on social media, it's taking you time to design that poster and all that kind of stuff, or
Yep.
things like that, and uh, 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 but I'm okay with that, because but want of a better phrase, some people might say I'm a bit of a control freak. I'm not. I just like to get things done, and I'm happy doing them. Do you know what I mean? But we'd have no problem divvying it all out with
Yep.
everybody, and sharing it out. But everyone's busy, and
Yep.
it's like, well, just let Ad get on with it and do it. And so that's okay. And I am, we were talking about this with the band the other day. I am by no means, social media savvy at all. There's so much more we could be doing, and may well look into doing
Mm.
as well. We're sort of very cozy and comfortable with our sort of Facebook community, but once we've conquered Facebook, we can go to Instagram and TikTok, and I'm so unsavvy. Those are the only other two I can think of, and I'm sure there's a dozen more.
Well, and they just keep growing. Just when I think I've sort of got a handle on it,
You can't
another
keep up.
bugger pops up.
You can't keep up. It's like technology itself. You just can't keep up anymore.
It is. It's. I remember. God. I've still got the account on Twitter, but I don't use it anymore for reasons. And I remember it. I remember something. Oh, you've got to get more followers on Twitter. You've got. I remember thinking, oh my God, not another bloody. And it is. I
And
can tell that you've got the energy for it. I mean, I too sort of am the sort of, lead when it comes to that thing, but I just know it
yeah,
can be a lot.
yeah, it can. But you've got to believe in what you're doing,
Mm.
and you've got to enjoy it. I mean, we really enjoy interacting with our fans. It's good fun. And
Oh,
and
God.
because we don't take it too seriously, we can have a laugh with it. It's not all this kind of earnest, straight-faced kind of gazing at our shoes, blues rock, with 10-minute guitar solos. That's fine. Go and do that if you're good at that, and there's a place for it. But it's not what we do at all. We like to sort of put a pin through all of that kind of posturing. It's for other people, not us. I'll tell you what's interesting though. You just made me think of something which is really sad about the music, the entry level opportunities in the music business
Mm.
now, and that's of course that we got signed. The Mustangs got signed after a gig
Mm.
at Maryport by someone who saw us at a gig, and that just doesn't happen anymore. Because the first thing, no matter how good you are, the first thing an A&R person is going to ask you is how many followers have you got on social media?
Yeah.
And I know firsthand of situations where a more talented and more promising artist was passed over for somebody less talented who had more social media following. So it's like
Yeah.
they want their job done for them, A&R. It's like, well, that role has completely changed now. So
Yeah.
it's not just at the level and what we're doing, it's right throughout the industry is unrecognizable from the one that you and I grew up with.
Yeah, it is very much like that. I mean, I do regarding some of the students I work with, I do speak to a guy at Sony. So if I and he's an A&R there, and whenever we speak, I know what he's looking for out of my students, if they've got a band or if they're a solo artist or whatever, is okay, what's their work ethic? He's taking for granted straight away that if I'm even speaking about them, they're friggin' amazing
Yeah.
on every level, songwriting, performing, the whole lot. But it is okay. Well, what's their work ethic? And their work ethic means what's their figures like? What's their numbers like?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It's like we haven't got the money to invest anymore.
Yeah.
So we want the package already delivered, and we want to see that it's already working and gaining traction. So
Yeah.
they have to admit, they have to be business people from word go, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, completely different to what me and you grew into.
And then once you're out there, you are, over 100,000 songs get uploaded to Spotify every day.
Yep.
So it's like, how on earth do we, put this person's head above the parapet so everyone can see it? You're just, I have an analogy I play with about the music business in my head. And it used to be that the record companies were like all the big department stores on the high street. There were loads of them, and you had all these cool little independent shops, just in the alleyways off the high
Yeah.
street and everything. Now, of course, you've got just two, really, more or less, big
Yeah.
department stores. All those little side roads of independent record labels, they've pretty much all gone. But now what you've got is this kind of enormous sort of medieval campsite of tents, of individuals, selling their wares, and you just don't know which tent to look at because everybody wants you to buy their music, and there's just so many of them. It's like a kind of you know a scene from a medieval.
No, I can picture that as well as you saying
Yeah.
it. I
And
know
they're
exactly
all
what you
they're all
mean.
waving their music, going
Yeah.
me, 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 me,
Over
and
here.
they're all desperate to get into the big department stores to sell their stuff, but there's
Mm.
just no opportunity there anymore.
No, it is very strange, and it's like I think our scene. I mean, I'm going to say our like the scene that we exist in, even though um, roughly blues related, I would say. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard to put a label on things,
yeah.
I think,
But you,
but
you can
rough.
say what you want. As long as the blues police aren't listening, it's fine.
Well, they probably don't listen to me anyway because I'm too rock, so they
I know, and they definitely don't listen to us.
so they won't. They won't anyway. But it's there is a lot of support on the scene, and I think it's kind of like, but I think there's probably a ceiling at the moment because what I kind of noticed, and I don't know whether you'd agree with this, is that, and I have mentioned these artists before on a couple of podcasts. You've got people like Barnes Courtney, Kaleo, Bishop Briggs, people like this that are kind of blues. If you listen to them, they're really bluesy, maybe really rocky as well, with other things thrown
Mm.
in. But never the twain shall meet, if you know
Yeah,
what I mean. It's like
totally.
our scene exists in its
Yeah.
own little pocket, which in a way is great, and in a way, kind of like I think, well, why does? Is there any way do you think we could get sort of younger sort of audiences as well? There's nothing wrong with older
Well,
audiences.
that's
We
that's
bloody love them, but just to try and keep momentum going.
well, that's I think one of the $64,000 questions,
Mm.
because we all know that the punters on our scene are getting older and they're not going to be around forever, and the younger generation is just not there to come in and replace them. Now, I'll give you a story. I was asked to be on the committee to pick bands for a festival a
Mm-hmm.
couple of years ago to help, because I have outspoken opinions and all this kind of stuff, and the people there knew that, and they they said, Adam, how can you help us get younger audience into the festival? And I sort of came back to them with a list of bands I thought they might be able to afford who could attract younger people.
Mm.
And they looked at they looked at the list and they said, well, we don't want that because it's going to change the feel of the festival. It's going to change, and our punters are not going to want that. And I was like, well, hang on, surely that's what you're trying to do anyway. You have to do anyway. You've got to move with the times in the way Glastonbury's done. And not everybody is
Well,
on
yeah,
board with that. But they've got to move with the times or it all becomes a museum piece.
yeah, and
You've
they
got,
do get, for what anyone thinks of it, they do seem to get good balance.
yeah, I think I love Glastonbury. I've gone, I've played
Yeah.
it. I think it's a wonderful festival. And I totally understand that they have to move with the times and start appealing to younger people. And if that means changing the music a little bit here and there, then
Mm.
so be it. Let's not be too pompous and up ourselves that, ours is the only music worth listening to,
Yeah.
and I'm this musical these accusations of musical cultural appropriation, it's just nonsense because music has to be a big melting pot of styles and influences to move forward and to stay relevant. And so, I don't have a problem seeing, a sort of techno blues band, as it were,
Mm.
on a bill somewhere. But I know a lot of people would.
Mm.
I'd find that fascinating, and I'd be really really keen to see what they were doing with it. And,
2 Feet. Yeah, I don't know whether you know 2 Feet, but if you
no,
look
I
up
don't.
Two
God.
Feet, he's techno blues, by the
Oh,
way.
oh well, there you go. I'm
I'll
absolutely
send you a link after.
yeah.
There's a
Please do. I'm going to check him out.
And
brilliant.
it's brilliant. And it's
That's
actually,
fantastic.
it's brilliant. And so I totally agree with what you're saying. And nobody else has said this so far.
Yeah.
And
Well,
those suggestions I think are really important.
I think I think rock music itself is you know, this wonderful 60, 70 years we've had since the mid 50s, you know, it's it is about to be put into a time capsule
Mm,
because of technology and because of the place music has in the social world of kids now. It used to be that you knew what kind of music someone wore because of what kind of music someone liked because of what they wore.
yeah.
You'd have soul boys and soul girls, you'd have rockers and mods and punks and everything walking down the street, and you knew what they listened to. That's gone completely. So those barriers between the musics have gone. Now that's not necessarily an unhealthy thing because it means you get kids now with Slayer next to Frank Sinatra in their iPod playlists, which you might not have got all those years ago. So it encourages people to listen to much more varied styles of music, I think. But what it does mean is that, as we alluded to earlier in the conversation, the value of music,
Mm,
its accessibility has made it valueless, you know. And there are always exceptions, of course there are. We all know young people who value their record players and their vinyl and everything, but generally on vinyl they're buying Dark Side of the Moon and Hunky Dory and
yeah.
Songs of the Key of Life. They're buying these things that are held up as collectibles, you know,
Yeah.
these wonderful old sort of classic musics. And and of, you know, music in the social world of kids now, and again always exceptions of course, but generally it's having to compete with influencers and gamers, and I mean, influencers are the new rock stars, aren't they, you know?
Well,
And
yeah, YouTubers. I mean, god damn,
YouTubers,
TikTokers.
influencers, it's having to compete with, you know, the Premier League, which is enormous now, you know, and so many other distractions and screen distractions and things that are demanding their attention. You know, the days, you know, and I'm absolutely sure you were the same as this. You know, you get home, you from the weekend, you've spent your pocket money you've saved up for ages on a record, you know, and you go home and you make yourself listen to it and you make yourself love it. You know,
Yeah,
even those tracks you hate, you know, in the middle of side two, you would make yourself love them. And so your relationship with that record is such a deeper one than I think um younger people would have with their music now, because they don't have the tactile element, they don't have the saving up element, the traipsing all the way up to London or the record store, yeah, all of that. And then of course, like we all know, the reading through the credits and everything, you know. Now, you know, I'm well aware there are many, you know, young people out there who absolutely love music as much as we did. Of course they do. but but I think it's a different kind of relationship. It has to be for most of them, because they just simply not, the music just isn't being delivered in the same way.
no, it is. It is a different relationship. You're absolutely right. I think that slightly, that kind of festival idea where it does bring a few new things in would be a really great thing if anyone would do
I think
that.
somebody has to be brave enough to do it. I think
Mm,
somebody has to be brave enough to do it. Blues is absolutely in danger of becoming a museum piece, because if it's not moving forward and it's not appealing to a younger generation, then, you know, it's physics. There's nobody there to listen to it anymore, and so it becomes a relic. And you know, I get very worked up when I hear people talking about, "Oh, it's not traditional blues, it has to be 12 bar blues," and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking, well, the rock and roll you listen to, you know, does that have to just be, you know, 12 bar 1 4 5 sequence, you know, sped up Chuck Berry licks and everything like that? You know, we all love all that, of course we do.
yeah, of course we do.
And it's part of why we do what we do. You know, I'm a huge Chuck Berry fan, you
Mm,
know, and it just, that's what inspired us. But let's let all the other things in from all the other the younger generations and from the other races and cultures, and let's play around with it and make it into some big wonderful musical gumbo that we can all, you know, enjoy. Because you'll still always have those other things. But
absolutely.
if you don't recognize that, you're choking it by
You,
not allowing it to develop.
I, I love everything you're saying, Adam. I love everything that you're saying because it's exactly what I've thought, what I've spoke to friends about, what I've spoken to other people about. I've got friends who are on the folk scene,
Mm.
which is far more sort of wider encompassing of other little
Mm.
areas. So, you can get your trad folk, but those kind of people don't, they will accept other more sort of modern versions of folk with
Yeah,
modern instruments and different things. And it does seem to have done that genre a lot
yeah,
of good because it's attracted
absolutely.
younger audiences,
Because you go
younger
and see,
bands.
yeah, totally, and you go and see young people at folk festivals with loopers and drum machines, and they're letting all of that stuff in, and and let's give credit where it's due. Someone like Ed Sheeran who can go on stage in
Yeah.
front of 80,000 people with just an acoustic guitar. He's essentially being a folk singer.
Yeah.
And so so he has no doubt inspired thousands and thousands of people to pick up acoustic guitars and think, hey, I can write my feelings down or a little story down on a piece of paper and sing it. And that's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's all about, passing it on to the next generation and keeping it moving. But you get the feeling, unless we get that breakthrough artist with blues and that real emphasis placed on musicianship again that we used to have in the 60s. You remember?
Mm.
You know, I mean, obviously you don't remember but you know what I mean, though.
I was going to say, Adam, we were going to fall out then, and we've
Yeah, I
only
know.
just
That's why I took it back.
joking.
That's why I retracted it immediately. But you know what I mean? There was such there was such a value placed on musicianship, wasn't there?
There was, and
Uh,
then you got the reaction to that,
with punk,
with punk.
and it's never recovered since. It's never recovered since. So it needs somebody like Toby Lee to to break through and just have a moment, and it would probably be a social media moment or a TikTok moment or something. And suddenly everyone's going, he's cool. That's
Mm.
cool. I love what he's doing. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, where are all the guitar bands? It's
I mean, there's a lot of them that, I see a lot of student guitar bands, not necessarily, even though they are good musicians, not necessarily kind of soloing kind
yeah,
of in a some bluesy sort of,
yeah.
but it's always, again, probably not blues influenced enough even
Mm.
to kind of get into the scene that
I,
we're in.
I feel there's fertile ground for a, a a sort of modern sounding blues band who have a kind of modern sensibility, that kind of knowing, you know, office extras type of,
Yeah.
look at itself, ironic look at itself, but also that same band who are have a good grasp of what's happening in the world at the moment, because music's always most exciting um, when it's the soundtrack to change and revolution and
Yeah.
unrest. And of course, we've got a lot of that in the world at the moment. And we know there are some bands out there in other genres who are sort of starting to grab hold of that nettle and wave it around for people. Um, why can't it be a blues band? Why can't there be some angry, great band out there who just want to actually say something with their blues for a
Mm.
change, rather than I don't want to condescend to any blues songwriters, but rather than woke up this morning, found my dog dead kind of thing.
Yeah.
Blues can be so much more. The
It can be.
Mustangs, we did two blues concept albums. We did one about a metaphorical train journey through life, and then we did an environmental blues concept album. Now, a lot of people say they weren't blues albums because they didn't have a lot of the blues tropes, but the band came from the blues, was influenced by the blues, and there were absolutely echoes of it all over the record. And that goes back to what I mean. You don't have to stick to the parameters. And I always think of blues as like a blank canvas,
Yeah.
because you've kind of got to play within the frame, but whatever you put on that frame, it can be absolutely anything you want it to be. And that's where the force of personality and that little extra riz, as the kids say now, comes in.
You
Because
are down with the kids,
so
Adam.
down with my kids, they're
You
gonna,
got the riz, Adam.
when my kids see me say that, not that they'd ever watch this in a million years, they go, "Oh, Dad, you're so embarrassing. What did you say that for?" Anyway, um,
No, I'm going to say Adam has officially got the riz. Okay. But no, everything that you're saying, I absolutely agree with. That's why I'm kind of confused in a way and wish that we could incorporate the new Barnes Courtneys, the new Kalios
mm,
into part of the scene that we're in
yeah,
to draw in, younger crowds, younger people, and give it a mismatch of,
yeah, yeah,
generations
yeah.
in the audience and on the stage.
I mean, how about the Mustangs broke onto the scene when the Eel Pie Club ran a new blues talent competition
Ah,
and won, you know, and I think the UK Blues Federation could do something like that, something or Blues in Britain or Blues Matters or some of these sort of these kind of bastions of the blues establishment run some kind of nationwide search for young blues talent, and then we might get all these wonderful young players bubbling up, and taking notice. I mean, I don't know. It needs brainstorming and it needs discussion, but it really does need thinking about, because it is going to happen. In 10 years there will not be a scene that as facilitating as we know it is now.
yeah.
It's going to be a smaller scene, and we're all going to be scratching each other's eyes out to get shows at festivals and things like that, because it's going to be so desperate, because we all want to
I
play and
mean,
there just aren't enough venues.
there is a desperation, now, and I totally understand why any artist or band that's trying to exist where that's their source of income do get more desperate, and and my heart goes out to them, because I do understand, because there is they're not fighting other bands and they're not in competition with them, they're just fighting for themselves, and I totally understand that. I can see what's happening.
Mm.
I think the idea of, a search, something like that, but it would have to be something that is, as I say, maybe let's not tie the blues down to that little 12 bar
Absolutely.
squashed in my hand. Let's try and open it up just a little bit
Yeah,
and see what happens. And let's be a little bit more open to that, because,
yeah,
you've got loads of other influences. I've got, when you said Slayer and Frank Sinatra, well, well, Pantera and Frank Sinatra on my CDs and vinyl.
yeah,
It's like, but I listen to loads of stuff. I've always listened
yeah.
to loads. Why wouldn't you?
Well, it's music. It's music. There's I don't even think there's good music and bad music. Someone's going to like something somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't care. Listen to whatever you like with, but stop giving it labels and stop defining what it can achieve with labels, because surely we're at this point where everything's kind of melting down into sort of just one enormous, soup of accessible music. It just doesn't matter what music it's given. And when we put the acts on at Milkfest, which is billed as a celebration of blues, we have to make the point that the blues is a broad church, and that there are lots and lots and lots of different styles
Mm.
that come under the umbrella of that name. So if you were going to run a competition or something, yes, you can say blues influenced or
Yeah.
whatever, because we all are. If you like rock or heavy metal, you are blues influenced, whether you know it or not.
Absolutely. I
Or
would
jazz.
just Jack White. What are you going to say then?
Oh no, I said jazz, but
Oh,
yeah,
jazz. Yes.
yeah,
That's a whole other conversation, because I one of my friends, he's big jazz guy, was saying the other day that nobody uses the word jazz. A bit like a lot of new artists don't use the word blues because of what they fear. It's people are just going to think it's
mm,
12 bar. And he said the same about jazz, and they're calling it neo soul. They'll call it new
Neo
R&B. They'll call it anything other than jazz.
soul. Call it what you like, it's meaningless,
Yeah,
the most important thing is that you get people to listen to it, that you put it in
yeah,
front of fresh young ears and they hear it and they go, wow, this is fantastic. I don't care if this is jazz or neo soul or whatever it is, this sounds great and I want in, you know so if we have to dress blues up as something else, let's dress it up as something else. Already a lot of the festivals, call themselves blues rock festivals or
mm,
rock and blues festivals, or whatever. It's just an old fashioned term, of a music we all love dearly. But I think at the same time, it's you've got to let it move on and breathe and develop. That's it. That's in a nutshell.
absolutely. And I think, when we first started this and tonight, and you mentioned the Blues Police. So when I won a couple of blues awards years ago, I had a few nasty comments saying sort of, "You're not blues, you're not proper blues, you shouldn't win that because you're not." Well, yeah, I'd agree with you, mate. No, I'm not a 12
Yeah,
bar blues artist.
that's it.
So,
Uh,
soz. But people
but if
voted for me. What
you
can
know
I
it,
do, man?
I
But
mean,
that's the problem, I think. I think that's
it,
part of the big
it,
problem.
it is, and also with modern ears and everything, if you put on a day of straight 12 bar blues, you'd have an empty venue by 10 o'clock in the evening. Because, it's just, whether you like it, want to admit it or not, it's the same chord sequence,
Yeah,
over and over again. It's often the same subjects, it's the same tropes. And frankly, I think most of the blues was done best like that 50 years ago and will
I
never,
agree with you.
ever be done like that again. If
Yeah,
I
I always feel I can't do it
no,
justice.
exactly. Of course, you can't do it justice.
Mm.
I can't play blues like Muddy Waters. I wouldn't even try. It would be absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? But I do see people trying to do it. They're not putting their own personality and their own bent on it. They go out there and they think, "Well, I'm going to be as authentic as possible." You're doing absolutely the opposite. You're absolutely being as inauthentic as possible. What's being more authentic is be yourself. Stop trying
Yeah.
to copy Muddy or Robert Johnson or Howlin' Wolf and John Lee Hooker. And we've seen scores and scores of artists like that do that over the years. You just find out what it is you love about the blues. Find out how it connects to you,
Yeah.
and then just emphasize that, blow that up, take a big air gun and just pump as much air into that as possible till it explodes on stage for everybody to go, wow, this guy really, or this girl really understands, you know, what their relationship with the blues is and why
Mm.
we should be listening to it.
Mm. That was fantastic. I love all that you said there.
Good.
I think I'm becoming an Adam fan. You know. But no,
I'll
that.
say, can I give you an example of that actually? An absolutely first-hand example.
Mhm.
Jamie and I, we grew up together. We've been best friends all our lives. And the singer of the Milkmen, and we loved the blues. We
Mhm.
we we, we loved the blues. We were listening to all the old guys and everything. But the blues we were listening to and aware of at the time when we were kids was kind of the old Muddy Robert Johnson
Mhm.
stuff and everything, because that's who we'd been kind of directed to listen to by Eric Clapton and Led Zeppelin and everything. So we thought we got to listen to this,
Yeah.
and we loved it, but we couldn't play it.
Mm.
We could. And then we saw Dr. Feelgood when we were in our late teens, who were, of course, heavily influenced by the blues, but they were playing it with energy and dynamic and passion, and they put some volume into it and some speed and, some welly and everything. And Jamie and I were just like, we can do that. We can play the blues like that. And so
Mm.
that's what we've done. We've taken the influence of a band like the Feel Good, the R&B element, the fun of it, the joy of it, the kind of
Mm.
just the levity and upness of it, rather than the sort of, you
Mm.
know, the more downbeat stuff. And that's absolutely where, the sort of the DNA of the Milkman has come from. And then we mash that up with all our classic rock influences like Zeppelin and Queen and
Mm.
Stevie Wonder and Rod Stewart and stuff.
I love that.
You know,
I love
there's
that.
no
That
one
sounds like a great melting pot to me.
there's no one we haven't ripped off. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Let's rip off some more.
Let's do it. But I think we need to start ripping off some more modern bands, I think, you know. But I can't name any bands after 2000, so what do I know? I mean, Jesus.
Oh, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. It's just that the years melt into one
Don't
a
they
little
just?
bit. It's like
Yeah.
somebody said the other day about, oh, that was like 20 years ago. I'm like, what? That was like 5 minutes ago. Don't say stuff
Oh,
like that, man.
somebody did exactly that. That time perspective thing you develop as you get older.
Come on.
You don't have it when you're younger, do you? And
No.
then you suddenly hit an age and you think, oh my God, so us listening to Love Me Do now,
Is,
that's 62. So what's that? That's 63 years ago. That's the equivalent of someone listening to a song in 62 from 1899.
I mean, Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, that
It's,
hasn't
it's
got any riz, in my opinion.
I don't like it. I want you to stop. I don't like it. Oh,
Oh my God,
oh,
Adam,
sorry,
you are just brilliant.
I've just brought us down as well. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. Drag it. I mean, I can always drag something down anyway. So, just don't. So, okay. Sort of final closing words about kind of what advice would you give to sort of, doesn't necessarily have to be a blues artist or blues influence, but like an
Well, musician.
emerging band or artist. What would you say is the most important thing?
Well, I think the most important thing is to do it for the right reasons. Um, make sure you're not doing it because you want to be famous for 15 minutes or you want to have loads of TikTok followers or whatever everything like that. Because the odds are you're not gonna get to a level where you can sustain any kind of career.
Mm,
Um, so so I when I was 16, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be world famous, and I wanted a house in the country and the Ferrari and all the paraphernalia. But of course, your ambitions as a musician are they're constantly moving goalposts, aren't they? Because you
yeah.
get to an age where you think, well, that's not going to happen. But actually, I'm still really enjoying this. So
Yeah,
what's my next musical ambition?
absolutely.
And and as long as you can keep having these lovely little steps that you achieve along the way, then you still feel like you're progressing and moving forward. Whether
Mm,
it's playing Glastonbury or headlining Skeggy or
mm,
making a record or having a number one on the blues chart or something.
mm,
um you can keep having these little ambitions and pushing forward, but you're always being driven by the music. Always, always, always. It's the music that's making you do it. That's where
mm,
the energy and the drive and the dynamic comes from, because you really believe it and you're doing it with people you really like and have faith in as well.
mm,
So when I do talk to young kids about music, um it really is a case of, okay, find your voice. Find Don't try and copy anybody. Be your own. And it took me years to find this out myself. This is from many awful records I've made over the years, and wrong
we've all
steps.
done them.
Yeah. And find your voice. If you're a singer, it's so important to find your own voice
Yeah.
as a singer. um and um find find out what, recognize what it is you love about music, and then make that your thing, because that's the thing you'll do with passion.
Mm,
That's the thing you'll do with real drive and commitment. And then, and this is where I sort of come off the rails a bit, because I'm still very much a kind of dinosaur from another age. I'm still grappling around in the dark with social media and everything like that. But I would say, be social media savvy. No, and have really good quality control over what you post, but try and do it regularly.
mm,
Try and have a voice, a personality on social media. I like to think the milkmen have that on our social media.
mm,
Try and have a personality that people can engage with and they're going to like and they're going to want to be part of. And these are all weird things to talk about as to recommend to a musician. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
But I get people asking me this question all the time, and I find myself talking more and more about social media. But if you have found your voice and you have got your stage show ready and you've got your music ready, I would implore musicians, not young musicians, not to get any of that stuff out there until it's ready. Present the best side of yourself. Be the best you can be from the word go. Because don't give anybody the opportunity to think you're not very good. I finished my new demo. I can't wait to get it out there. I don't think it's quite perfect, but I want people to hear it. I want people to hear it. No, I don't think that's
No,
the right approach whatsoever. But when you're young and full of
just
piss and vinegar, just want people to hear what you do.
yeah.
You know, but you've got to be, and Jamie and I say this all the time when we're writing songs. You might not believe it, but it's true. But we just say you've got to be your own harshest critic
Oh God, yeah.
from the word go. You've got to be brutal with your own music, with your own band, your own presentation. And we've had
Absolutely.
huge rows in the Milkman about releasing stuff that wasn't good enough, or
Mm.
you know, and you've got to be committed. You've got to be good, and you've got to be smart. I think to navigate your way in the music business at the moment these days. Um, but my last piece of advice was don't listen to an old rocker like me for any advice, because what do, what do I know?
I think you know plenty.
Well,
I think you know plenty. You've said a lot of great stuff here tonight.
I said far too much stuff, frankly.
No, 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 no. Never enough stuff. Never enough stuff. Well, Adam, thank you so much. So the tickets go on sale for the Milkfest when again?
Milkfest. Can I quickly run down the people who are playing, because we're
Do
so
it,
proud
do
of the
it, do
lineup.
it.
We're going to open the show as we always do as the hosts. Mississippi McDonald is going to play. Ollie, what a lovely fellow. We've got Errol, Errol Linton,
Carol Linson,
South London blues legend. He's playing. We've got Brave. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to
Climax.
don't mind if I do. Thank you. Uh, uh,
Not yet. It's on camera. It's going on YouTube. For the love of
sorry,
God, Adam.
sorry. You might have to cut that out.
No, we'll keep that.
We've got Hamish Stewart and Robbie McIntosh, legends who played with
Legends.
Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney. They do a wonderful acoustic show that draws from all the bands they've played in: Pretenders,
Fantastic.
Average White Band,
Fantastic.
our great pals Brave Rival, who are just a
Yeah.
real powerhouse live, and I'm sure you know Lindsay,
Awesome.
Alice Armstrong, Alice,
Yep.
just and yes, the Climax Blues Band, yeah, just to go back to that joke and explain it to people, and the songwriting legend that is Chris Difford.
There you go.
So it's a diverse bill, and the tickets are not going to be very expensive, but we just want everybody to come.
Okay, and the tickets go on sale when?
Friday, September the 5th.
Friday, September the 5th. The tickets go on sale, and it's March the
First of March,
1st.
Sunday, 1st of March.
Sunday, 1st of March. And the tickets will be available from your website? Or
No, they'll be available from all the usual, all the usual ticket
all the usual ticket
retailers,
or
yeah,
ticket
and
space.
we'll be posting links everywhere for people to buy. But you could just Google Milkfest at the O2, and they'll take you to a ticket link.
Fantastic. And it's in aid
Or
of
some small
Dementia UK.
little, literally a milk festival on a small farm somewhere
Yeah.
in the
So
West.
don't get those too confused, because
No,
if
no,
you're a
we don't
fan
want
of
everyone.
just like drinking milk,
We don't,
this is not for you.
we don't want everyone turning up to the West Country, some poor farmer's farm.
Be like, where's the milk?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. So yeah, it's in aid of Dementia UK. Get yourselves down there. It sounds like an absolute cracking day and an amazing cause to do it for. And Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Thank you so much.
You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adam. That was really enjoyable, and you made some very interesting points. Next week, my guest will be Troy Redfern, multi-instrumental slide guitarist, producer, and band leader. Thank you for listening and or watching. I'll see you next week.